After a huge win at home, the ACU football team tries to end the season on a Rocky Mountain high. I'm Shera Niemirowski.
And I'm Grant Boone. We'll preview that finale against Northern Colorado and look back at some of our favorite moments of the season. It's the Ken Collums Show right now. Welcome to the 12th and final week of the Ken Collums Show presented by Lawrence Hall. I'm Grant Boone alongside ACU senior journalism major Shera Niemirowski and the head coach of the ACU football Wildcats, Ken Collums. Last Saturday at Shotwell, the final home game for Wildcat seniors was one they will no doubt never forget for all the right reasons. A touchdown with 22 seconds left gave ACU a thrilling 21-17 victory over the defending conference co-champions from Southeastern Louisiana. Coach, I know you'd have taken a win any way you could have gotten it, but when you have one of those white knucklers, that makes it feel extra special, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know if it makes it feel
Makes it for me, at least.
There's a lot of tension going on there at the end, and there's a few, important decisions that had to be made, and there, it ended up working out. We very easily, that game could have gone either way.
Like the McNeese game.
That's exactly right. And down toward the end this week, we made the plays to win the game.
Coach, I noticed after the game you went up to Wildcat Rain. What did you say to them?
I just told them thanks. I said, y'all are big time. That is so cool what they do, what they have built, just through grit and just consistency of everything. Like, you know what, we're not going to accept the way things used to be. We're going to make this thing special, and that's exactly what they've done at every sporting event. I just think it's really cool.
And that student section has done a great job, and you'll need them in the coming years as well. A great finish at Shotwell Stadium on Saturday. When we come back, we'll take a look at the highlights and get Coach's analysis. Glad you're with us for the Ken Collums Show presented by Lawrence Hall. Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show presented by Lawrence Hall. Last Saturday at Shotwell, ACU hosted defending Southland Conference co-champions Southeastern Louisiana. And the Wildcats saved their best for last. With a look at the highlights, here's Daniel Zepeda.
The Wildcats played their final home game of the season on a cold and rainy afternoon at Shotwell Stadium. After a scoreless first quarter, the Lions got on the board with a 2-yard touchdown run to go up 7-0 with 11:10 left in the second quarter. Senior running back Herschel Sims ripped off a 42-yard touchdown run to tie things up at 7 after halftime. Sims finished the game with 75 rushing yards on 14 carries to lead the Wildcats. Southeastern added on a field goal with 2:31 left in the third quarter to move ahead 10-7. Seconds into the fourth quarter, the Lions would stretch that lead to 10 with a 15-yard touchdown pass to go up 17-7. On ACU's following drive, junior quarterback Parker McKenzie led the Wildcats down the field for a touchdown to cap off a 5-play, 75-yard drive to make the deficit just 3. With just seconds to play and on a 4th and goal situation, McKenzie would find senior Jamie Walker for the touchdown to go up 21-17 with 22 seconds left in the ballgame. Southeastern Louisiana wouldn't be able to come up with anything in the end as the win snaps ACU's 6-game losing streak in style.
Thanks, Daniel. Final score, ACU 21, Southeastern Louisiana 17. Coach, the game started as a few have this year with the offense struggling to move the ball a bit. Dallas Seeley got his second consecutive start. One thing that wasn't visible to the naked eye, a thumb injury he incurred against Northwestern State. Do you think that affected his accuracy some?
It did, and ultimately, we made a change. A big part of it was because he wasn't throwing the ball well. I mean, that Dallas Seeley is a guy who can get out, move around, but he is an accurate passer.
Very.
And when he misses throws significantly, there's something wrong. So ultimately, we felt like, Parker's gonna give us a better chance to win. So that's what we did.
Southeastern took the lead on a 13-play, 66-yard drive. They're in the end zone at 7-0. Parker came in, as you mentioned, early second quarter. A couple of nice drives. You didn't get any points out of it, but you were beginning to move the ball And then after that 7-0 halftime score, second half really couldn't have started any better. You forced a 3-and-out. Then Parker leads a touchdown drive, culminated by a 42-yard touchdown run by Herschel Sims. Coach, I want to go back to something you've told me multiple times in the last 2-3 weeks when Dallas had become the starter. You kept talking about the way Parker handled it. Elaborate on that a little bit, and how nice is it to see a guy get rewarded when he's handled it maturely?
Sure. When you're a starter and things are and changes are made, all of a sudden now you're the backseat guy now, because we only play one quarterback, and now we shift them in and out from time to time, but here lately we've settled on one. The easiest thing to do is to go, oh, you know, I'm a 3,000-yard passer last year, and you know, this isn't working out, you know, woe is me, then, you know, it's never going to be the same. Within about 5 minutes, you can think yourself into a pretty dark spot, you know, and just as a man.
Yeah.
But how he handled it, he did not do that. Obviously, he wasn't happy about it, because Parker McKenzie is a fierce competitor, as fierce a competitor that has ever taken snaps. I mean, he's a guy now. But how he handled it with maturity, he stayed honed in practice. Then that's the number one thing. If you check out, you're going to check out in practice, and how you practice is going to play out in a game.
You're not going to come in and do what he did if you hadn't have stayed.
He hit no shot at it. He would have hit some passes, but you don't lead a team down on an 18-play drive under pressure situations, couple of fourth downs, couple of third downs, and throw strikes and make protection decisions like he did, throw the ball away properly, and just handle everything if you've been pouted up for the last 2 weeks.
Well, Coach, you mentioned that 18-play drive. You're down 17-7. You get a touchdown to make it 17-14. You get the ball back. Midway through the fourth quarter, he takes you down. And you've got 4th and goal at the 1.5-yard line, down 17-14. Option, kick a field goal, tie the game, send it to overtime, or go for it on 4th and 1. You went for it. Why?
Well, a couple of reasons. You look at just your kicking situation. Ours hasn't been all that great. We've missed our last 4 field goal tries. Now, they hadn't been from the 1.5-yard line, but I think we probably would have made that. You got to think that. But the thing is, if you kick a field goal, go to overtime, there are a lot of situations where you may end up kicking in overtime, not from the 1.5-yard line. So I thought, you know what, let's look at our other option, which is, hey, let's try to win the thing. And then you look at, okay, what have we done up to this point in the tight red and goal line? What do we still have left? How do they defend our previous plays? So we found a play we felt really good about, and we went with it.
And the ball seemed to stay in the air forever. Parker McKenzie floated it to Jamie Walker. Here's what I loved. Senior day, and your 3 touchdowns came from senior Herschel Sims, senior receiver Monty Green Avery, and senior tight end
That's
Jamie
pretty cool, because those guys have earned it, and it doesn't always play out like that.
That's
there are no guarantees in any of this, but I was glad to see them score touchdowns for us.
It was a great way to finish. Well, the ACU Wildcat football family lost one of its own last weekend upon the passing of Doug Neese, class of ACU 1993. Doug is survived by his wife Kim, also a former Wildcat national champion track and field athlete, and his 4 boys. Doug was just 44 years old. We at the Ken Collums Show, and all of us in the ACU Athletics family, join the Neese family in grieving Doug's passing. Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. We're going to talk about the season, take a retrospective. We've brought in some of our favorites here to join Shera and me. Seth Wilson, ACU Athletics video coordinator, and Jessica Clark, sophomore multimedia major, the editor of the Ken Collums Show. We get to get you on set here. So we're going to talk about the 2015 season. Let's start with maybe your team MVP. Seth, let's start with you.
I think mine's on the defensive end. A guy that's already graduated, now's in graduate school, Lynn Grady, just a constant leader back there on the back end, has played linebacker and safety this season, and just always seems to be around the ball making plays. So he's my MVP.
Yeah, second on the team of tackles. Who's your team MVP?
He was going to be mine, so I got to jump on with that one. A lot of guys left this past year on defense, and Lynn, he really stepped up and got in there, but also Sam Denmark really helped lead the defense.
You have 2?
I know. I
got to
can
narrow
never
it
make
down.
up my mind.
Can you narrow it down to one, Jessica?
Let me pick an offensive player. I'll
Good.
go with DeAndre Brown.
Yeah.
You can always count on him for a solid run game and to really get in there and get in the red zone for the Cats. So.
Yeah. And he struggled at times as the offensive line has struggled. Hey, the whole team was decimated by injuries this year. Give me a favorite moment of the 2015 season. Do you have one? You've edited a whole bunch of highlights this year.
I'm going to go with the SFA game just because it was so back and forth, down to the wire, and we were able to pull it out. A lot of good defensive plays and just an exciting game.
And your team MVP, DeAndre Brown, had the game-winning touchdown in that one. Shera, do you have one?
Mine has to be this past Saturday. Maybe because I'm a senior, but senior weekend, it was awesome to see those guys get one last home win, and just that group of guys who have gone from coming in here Division II, leaving it in a good place Division I. It's been a tough season. Awesome way to get the last home win.
Favorite moment? We've been all over the place together this year,
I
haven't
think
we?
mine is going to be a home game. Just the defensive effort against McNeese, who's now ranked number 1 or number 2. I mean,
Yeah.
just you had not great performances leading up to that game, and then you come in and you fight with them right to the end. So I think that even though you didn't get the result you wanted, that was a great fight by the Wildcats.
Isn't it interesting, too? You have a game like McNeese and then a game like Southeastern Louisiana. You feel great after last week. You feel terrible after McNeese. Both really were the same game in a way, weren't they? They went down to the wire. Do you have a player who was a pleasant surprise for you, someone who jumped out this year?
I think for me, offensively, Carl Whitley, you've had some receivers go down with injury, mainly Cade Stone, Jace Hudson. Carl stepped in, and he's made some spectacular catches, especially video-wise. He's made some of the great highlight catches that we've seen this season.
Yeah. Is there a player for you that jumps out at you as maybe one that you weren't even necessarily focusing on when the season started, but had an impact, you think?
I'd go with Jabari Butler.
Yeah.
I think our defense was really something special this year, proved themselves several times over, and Jabari led the Southland Conference in interceptions, so he was definitely an integral part of that.
You just mentioned your last game last week. You got to see Jabari Butler nearly with a game-ending pick six the other day. Do you have a player that jumps out at you as a pleasant surprise,
Well,
maybe?
once again, mine was going to be Carl Whitley, so Seth has taken all my answers. But another one offensively, Dallas Sealy, Parker McKenzie, still awesome quarterback, and they've both ended up working sort of in tandem whenever we needed one or the other. They both ended up working.
Well, you guys did a lot of work this year as well. Great job by you editing this show, obviously. 2-year starter as co-host, Shera. Great job by you. And Seth, great video all year long. And it's not been the season, is it, that we wanted in terms of wins and losses. But to watch the team continue to fight, to me, I think that's what I take out of this season, how this team persevered. And you don't persevere unless you've got a guy leading the program like the guy whose name is on this show, Ken Collums. All right, it's time to check out what's happening around the rest of the ASU sports world. Let's head up to the JMC Network Sports Desk.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to this week's JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Hannah Null.
And I'm Jonathan Rates. Women's basketball split their first 2 games of the season with a victory over Wayland Baptist and a loss to Big 12 powerhouse Kansas State. The Wildcats posted a convincing 96-71 thumping of Wayland Baptist, led by junior forward Sydney Shellstead, who gathered 12 rebounds and a game-high 26 points. Junior guard Alexis Mason also added 18 points and 6 assists for ACU. ACU used a 34-22 first quarter to jump out to an early lead, one they would not relinquish as they led from beginning to end. The team returns to Moody on Sunday to begin a 3-game homestand against the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Men's basketball came out with a second non-conference win Tuesday against Howard Payne University. The Wildcats had a slow start and were trailing the Yellow Jackets 33-29 at halftime. The team managed to find their shooting game in the first minutes of the second half and gained its largest lead by 15 points with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game. Jalen Franklin had 15 points while Duran Porter scored 13 to assist the second half victory. Head coach Joel Golding says that freshmen have already stepped up this season.
Good and bad. Where they're a little bit behind is probably on the defensive end. It's just kind of figuring out what we're trying to do systematically on that end of the floor. But I think for the 2 games here, the people that have been able to watch us play, I think you can definitely see that we're bigger, we're longer, we're more athletic. I think we've gotten more dunks the first 2 games than we have in all of last year. So I think it's more of an exciting brand of basketball. And again, it's just those freshmen growing up and learning and getting better each and every night they're out. And then our seniors continue to play well and to lead them in the right direction.
The men will play Game 3 of their 13-game preseason schedule in Oregon on Sunday against the University of Portland.
Volleyball finished their season with a thrilling win against Northwestern State 3-2. ACU took the first 2 sets 28-26 and 25-22, but the Lady Demons bounced back, spoiling the straight set sweep with a 25-23 victory and forcing a Game 5 with a 25-16 win. The Wildcats regrouped in the 5th set and battled their way to a 20-18 victory with the help of senior Jenny Lurch's game-high 21 kills. Lurch also added 15 digs, and senior libero Madison Hoover recorded 24. For their efforts this season, Lurch and Hoover were awarded 1st and 2nd team All-Southland Conference honors. With a 9-7 record, ACU finished 4th in the Southland Conference, its best finish since transitioning to Division I. Thanks for watching this week's JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Jonathan Rates.
And I'm Hannah Nall. When we come back, Grant and Shera will find out what head coach Ken Collums expects from Northern Colorado. Stay with us on the Ken Collums Show, brought to you by Lawrence Hall.
As we welcome you back to the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall, take a look at today's Southland Conference schedule. A playoff berth in FCS football may well be on the line in Conway, Arkansas, where Sam Houston State visits the University of Central Arkansas's Bears on the stripes in Conway. Both teams are 7-3, and the winner, most likely, gets a bid to the FCS playoffs. Let's talk about today's season finale. ACU on the road against the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, Colorado, just a little bit north of Denver. Coach, we haven't played them since 1991, back when both of us were in Division II. This is a team that followed up maybe its best win of the year, a win over a top 10 team in Portland State, with a really disappointing loss. Some up there are calling it the worst loss of the season. Here's what I've determined after these few years in Division I football. It's hard to do what every coach wants, which is play consistent football, isn't it?
That's exactly right. You look at Northern Colorado, kind of the big body of work that they've put together. It is a bits and pieces of inconsistency, of good play, of bad play, of some turnovers and some great wins, and then some almost wins. And then there's a disappointing loss, which is a little bit reflective of kind of how we did this year for a lot of different reasons. But they've had some good wins, and they've had some near losses. You almost, the Eastern Washington game, who can play? That's a big time program. That goes down to the wire, and they don't win that. Very similar to our McNeese game. So they're a quality team. They're 5-5. I think they're probably disappointed in the 5-5. But it's gonna take a big effort for us to go up there and beat them on their home field.
Coach, looking at your offense this past weekend, Parker McKenzie was back in a lot, had several solid plays. This last game, what can we expect to see from your offense?
Well, I love how we ran the ball consistently. We weren't running up and down the field on them in the running game, but we sit in here every week and talk about we got to be able to run the ball better, just some kind of consistency, and that's what we did. If you want a recipe for disaster, I tell this to my team, toward the end of the game, down the stretch, you give up big plays, give up a big play or two on defense, and then fail to run the ball on offense. And it's pretty much a fact across the college football landscape. You're probably not going to win the game. Well, what we did, we limited the big plays, and we were able to run the ball with some kind of consistency. First down, now it's 2nd and 5, and now you're in business. That you can run an offense like that, and that's exactly how that last drive played out, which was a big-time drive. So we're going to have to go up there offensively. We're going to have to be able to run the ball. It's going to be cold, but we can throw and catch in the cold. That's not going to be a problem. But we've got to run the ball consistently, though.
The one thing that has been consistent this year, unfortunately, is how many guys have missed playing time because of injury or other reasons. And another one has gone down again, Carl Whitley. He's been one of the breakout stars. We talked about that last segment. He's not going to be able to go, forget about today, maybe for a while.
Yeah, he's got an ACL issue, and it's unfortunate for Carl because about halfway through the season, he really emerged as a big-time guy that we could throw the ball down the field with. But we had 13 guys miss the game last week, and it's just hard to sustain any consistency with that. And it sounds like woe is me deal, but it's been for about 5 weeks. It's been 12, 13, 14, even 15 guys missing. But you know what? Our other guys have stepped up, and what that tells me is in the future, these guys that got the reps this year, it's going to benefit everybody because they're going to have some game time experience, which is good.
Well, it's going to be cold, as you say. Got the long johns packed, and regardless of what the final record is, you always want to in the season on a win, like you've done your first 2 seasons in Division I.
Our last 3 years since I've been the head
Yes,
coach,
you have.
we finished with a win, and we've always finished with a win on the road. It's this, and I told my guys this today. You know what? It's just a little bit further. It's going to be a little bit colder, but it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
We'll win with, end with a win.
Coach, I tell you this privately all the time. I don't get to say it publicly enough. Thanks for all you do, not only for running this football program, but how accommodating you are for this show. We shoot this show right after you come off the practice field. I know you're exhausted and have a million other things to do. Thanks for all you do, for who you are and how you run this program. Shera, 2-year starter as co-host. Our only returning starter.
She's a veteran.
You've done a great job.
Thank
Seriously
you.
have. And if you've watched and enjoyed the Ken Collums Show at all this year, I hope you'll pay attention to the closing credits starting here in just a second and acknowledge those who've made the show happen. Season finale later today. In fact, in just a couple of hours, hour and a half or so, 1 o'clock Central Time kickoff. You can listen to the radio broadcast beginning at 12:30 Central with Lance Fleming and me from up in Greeley, Colorado. For Coach Ken Collums, for Shera Niemirowski, for the entire Ken Collums crew, thanks for watching the Ken Collums Show this season, especially today, and enjoy the game. So long.